and welcome to the Stringer Podcast number 28. Alex Anthony is on the podcast. It marks actually the first time we have a pro/ex-pro athlete on the podcast. Alex and I have been friends for a couple years now. We met up because of film. We had a mutual friend that put us in contact with each other. He was working filming some football. He's an ex-pro football player. I was obviously working doing the Toronto FC documentary series. I realized that we had some similarities and that we should grab a coffee. He's a really great dude. At AlexAnthony_83 on Twitter, at AlexAnthony_83 on Instagram. Hold your judgment. I know he has a first name for a last name, but I promise you, you will not regret this decision. Stringer News. Very quickly, let's try this one more time. Stringer News. ESPN is going to air the first esports league final match ever in prime time. That's right, on July 27th. They will be the first TV network to air a professional gaming contest. They will be playing Overwatch, a cartoon first-person shooter created by video game developer Blizzard. Did they do World of Warcraft? I think that might be the only Blizzard game I have ever played. The primetime broadcast is a test to see whether esports needs television or the other way around. Some argue the esports industry has been eating up traditional sports viewership, and I'm on the fence here. And this is where we all hit the time in our life where we're like, kids these days, back when I was young. And this is exactly one of those opportunities. I haven't been huge on Twitch. I kind of surf it a little bit. I have friends that do things on it. When I watch someone else play video games, it reminds me of being a kid and my brother hogging the controller. Honestly, I don't. I would love for you to reach out. Try to help me understand what I'm missing here at Stringer Podcast on Twitter, because I want to understand that this is a big deal, and I do appreciate the fact that it probably takes them hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours to be very, very good at a video game. But are we really going to gather around our TV sets on July 27th, and this is what we want to watch on ESPN? Have you played Overwatch? I can't remember the last video game. Like, aside from normal sports games, I don't know, maybe one of the Assassin's Creed games is one of the last ones I've played. It's interesting, though. It's neat to see the development. It's neat to see the evolution. I just don't know if I'm going to be on board. This is a bit of a rushed intro for me. I'm trying to get this out. Dylan and I, you know Dylan because he's a technical producer. He technically produces. He's the technical producer on a lot of the podcasts. We're actually jumping on a flight to LA in just a couple hours. And so we thought we'd do a Stringer Big Weekend LA style. Kicking it off on Friday night, what gets more LA in the summertime than an Angels versus Dodgers game at Dodgers Stadium? This is totally a Dylan pick, isn't it? This weekend features a classic matchup between the two Los Angeles teams in another edition of the Freeway Series. Catch recently named MLB All-Stars Mike Trout, Matt Kemp, Kenley Jensen, and all of your other favorites. Stick around after the game for the Friday night fireworks at the ballpark. Now, I'm traveling already today. How on earth am I going to get tickets? Oh, look. Dylan left me another note. Go to SeatGiant.ca or SeatGiant.com, type in whatever city you're traveling to in North America, and then check out the listings of what you want to see. Oh, look, there you go. They got Angels and Dodgers tickets for you. And great seats. To sweeten the deal, if you use promo code STRINGER, which I'm going to right now, you save an extra little discount on your ticket purchase. If you're not a baseball fan, that's cool. They have concert tickets, festival tickets. They have other sporting events as well. They have theater. Whatever you want to do, SeatGiant is your hookup. All you got to do is go to SeatGiant.com, type in the city that you're in, and then look through their listings or search for one yourself. And if you want a little extra money off, use promo code STRINGER. Saturday, you can't go to LA without taking in some real solid stand-up comedy. Saturday, the Comedy Store, Best of the Store with Chris D'Elia, Mark Maron, Neil Brennan, and Sean Polovsky. That's right. Saturday, get your ass down to the Comedy Store. I'm going to tell Dylan this is what we're doing. 8433 Sunset Boulevard in West Hollywood. Now, Sunday's the LA Food Fest. Sunday, fun day at Civic Center Studios. That, I promise you, is taking me like 4 times to get right. Grab a friend, celebrate the best day of the week, kind of the best day of the week, and get your sip and shop on while meeting and supporting some of our favorite hand-picked food trucks, chefs, local crafters, and makers. Do a little making and crafting of your own. I don't know if that's a real sentence. Tickets are required, but it is a free event. Just go to Eventbrite and you can get your free tickets. Past month's themes have included Ice Cream Social, Hello, Clean Made LA, and this month's Sunday Fun Day features burgers and beer. They knew I was coming to town. They prepped it just for me. All right, that's enough chatter for me. Alex Anthony coming up, former football player, Grey Cup winner, West Coast liver, at least that's where he grew up, and you can listen to him here. But first, the sax.
If you want.
No,
I always sit here.
A little water too?
A little water if you want to get some Watsky's in.
This is great. I need it because I talk too damn much. And this actually allows me to see the clock too. So I know if I push do.
True.
I'm like, oh, we're on hour 7 right now. I can tell that.
Sorry, I need to wrap it.
Yeah, I've got to go home. You've got people at home that like you. So that's the difference.
I know. Are we rolling right now?
Yes!
I always wondered.
I knew you'd ask.
Yeah.
Because I knew you'd know.
Yeah.
That we kind of have that soft rolling, easy start into the podcast.
But like it just kind of comes out of nowhere because like I've listened to so many of your podcasts now and like this
slow down. Thank you.
Yeah.
But slow down. Are we rolling yet? Yeah, surprise. Alex Anthony on the podcast.
How's it going?
I feel like I've wanted to set this up. Actually, right about an hour before you got here, I was talking excitedly about you being here, and I told the story that when we went to Latvia, I wanted to bring my podcast gear with me because I wanted to have this conversation when we went to Latvia, and it may have been the fact that between finding out we were going and actually leaving was about 40-odd hours, or the fact that we had a full day of interviewing in Toronto on a different project before we got on a plane and flew overnight to Latvia.
Right.
Somewhere in there, I forgot about the podcast gear. You fill a very special spot if I have like a roster of podcast guests because you are the first pro athlete to be on the podcast. And then Jeff Garriock, I'd say you're the second filmmaker. Okay. Like, I don't want to disrespect Garriock because he's so great. He does kind of lean himself towards being a DP, but then so do you. So maybe I just throw it in the air and say second DP or 1.5 filmmaker. I don't know how many. Yeah. But you're this wicked intersection of the two things that have like commanded so much of my life between sports on the one hand and film on the other hand. Which one came first?
I would say both of them maybe started at the same time, but I first realized that I wanted to be an athlete first. Yeah. I grew up in BC where you're always outside. You're always playing sports just because it's nice all year round, which is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, we know about that here in Ontario.
Yeah,
Let me tell you.
Yeah. So, whether it was baseball, basketball, football, golf, track, you name it, whatever, was always outside, always playing. And then I found myself really intrigued with sports docs and sports features and America's Games and NFL films. And I would watch all these films because I wanted to learn more about these athletes that I wanted to aspire to be one day when I was older. And looking back now, I realized that me being so invested in those sports docs, in those stories of the athletes, kind of propelled another passion later in life.
It's funny they bring it because sports docs kind of got into my life without me realizing. And film, even now that I tell the story, whenever I tell people, I don't have a favorite film, but when I rhyme off my favorite films, a lot of them have similar themes. A lot of them deal with things that I've dealt with personally in my life. A lot of them allowed me to emote through them. Right? Where I was, because you're like, whatever, a 12-year-old boy, you're not exactly discovering all the corners of your emotions, but these films would allow me to be happy or be sad, or I think of great sports films where you get a little misty, like you get a little teary. And I realized what I loved about it is I love the underdog receiving the recognition he's always deserved. And these were all things that for one reason or another in my life, I wasn't feeling fulfilled in. Okay. And so I was able to experience things through them. But I would imagine, so everyone, it's in the description. If you didn't read the description, there's an issue. But Alex was a pro football player, a world champion.
Yeah, well,
Canadian champion. Yeah. I just thought that today was, so we're recording this a little bit early. Today was when we're recording this, was the Washington Capitals parade.
Okay.
Right, Stanley Cup parade.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought it was neat that they put world champions on the side, I think, of their buses. I think it said world champions. And so I want to use that a little bit more often. I like the idea of world champion. It's a lot better than, I don't know, I don't want to be so narrow. On that day, you were a world champion.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl wasn't for another few months.
Well, no one else in the world was playing Canadian football.
No, right.
At that point, right?
Right? You're the world champion of Canadian football. But what I find interesting is that sports and the arts aren't exactly intersecting career choices, especially if you're a teenage boy.
Right.
How are you dealing with it? Because I believe you got into film, even though you said you discovered it later in life, you still got into film at a young age.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Your parents encouraged that.
Yeah. So my dad would always have the video camera, and my mom would always have the camera, and no matter what we were doing, everything was documented. Which at the time, you'd be like you kind of get frustrated because your parents
Mom, cut it out.
Documenting everything.
It's like pose for another picture. Mom, I want to go play.
That's exactly
right?
what happened.
That was my mom too.
So I think just kind of being surrounded by that all the time, it starts to become a part of you, and you appreciate capturing the moments and documenting the moments. But that was my entire childhood. That's actually up until now. My mom still takes photos of everything.
Mine too. Mine just isn't on her cell phone now.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I
my
know.
mom, she's like, it must be just filled with photos of my mean mug.
Oh, yeah.
Because she loves taking photos on her cell phone now.
Yeah.
Which I long for the days of film, because at least there's a price attached to each of those photos.
My mom would still take thousands of photos, and we have thousands and thousands of photos. And now that she's gone digital,
yeah,
I don't know where these photos live.
No,
they're
or even if she sees them ever again.
I know, but yeah, I know she's going to use them someday.
It's your wedding day. Just you wait.
Book, yeah, special book of just me.
It's 863 pages long.
Yeah, I know.
It's really impressive.
I know my girlfriend will like that. It'll be good. Yeah.
And this is when he turned 11. You're like, oh, I've been here for 3 hours already.
I know. But the actual film side of things, I think I first started back in high school, back in grade. I think it was maybe grade 9 or 10. But my best friend's dad was the first guy to get a Mac. And,
oh wow!
Yeah, so,
like ever.
Out of our friend, he was actually customer 001.
He was customer 1.
Yeah,
on Apple.com. No.
Yeah, so he was the first one out of our friend group whose parent got a Mac, and it was a big Mac desktop, and he was always the first person with all the coolest tech and the latest tech. So I remember we would get our practice footage, our game footage from football in high school, and me and my buddy would hop on our bikes and bike back to his house, rip these DVDs onto his dad's new computer, upload the game footage, upload the practice footage into iMovie, and just start experimenting with what different songs, different music.
Oh my goodness!
And just the different ways that you can manipulate and tell a story.
Yeah.
Within iMovie, and adding a lot of awful transitions. And,
of course, totally. Starwipe.
We
talked about that.
Yeah, Starwipe's really good. It was just so interesting and intriguing to see. Just playing back and trying different ways to cut something with different music, and just the different emotions you would feel depending on if it was rap music or rock music or strings or whatever. And I was just so intrigued with that. But my mind was always still, I want to become a pro athlete. This is just a side thing that I enjoy doing in my spare time.
There becomes a time where something goes from being fun, like you could be serious about it,
right,
to there actually being a switch that's flicked that says, oh, I actually might be able to do this
right,
for work. And I remember for me in my line of work, yeah, sure, I did some editing, I created some videos, and I thought I had a certain talent for it, but it didn't come until much later of doing these things over and over again,
right,
that I realized, no, I think I have something that most don't, like that will allow me to carry this from a hobby into a career. When did that happen in football?
So I remember growing up, I had my mom bought me this Flex Pass for the BC Lions, and I think I might have been 12 years old at that time, and I was so excited because it was for the following season, and I'd gone to a couple games at that point, but now to have, I think I had 10 tickets to take, whoever wanted to X amount of games for the next season. And I met a couple players after one of the first games that I went to, and this is my first experience meeting a professional athlete, and just the fact that these guys took a couple minutes of their time just to speak a couple words of wisdom, sign a bunch of stuff. I would always have flags and jerseys and all this stuff. And a couple of the guys told me, hard work pays off. And I know that sounds a little cliche. It's obvious.
Very sports thing.
I know, very sports thing.
Yeah, very sports thing.
Sports,
yeah. Hey, sports.
Yeah, just those, just that little thought, and just that little saying one time after a Lions game kind of propelled me through youth football, through high school football, through university, knowing that even when it gets hard, the harder you work, regardless of what happens, you will achieve something, and whether it's making it pro, whether it's getting drafted, whether it's having a great college career, the decisions you make to pursue one thing will ultimately open doors for something else. And that's what happened in my story.
But you didn't know as a kid you were good enough to be pro.
True.
Was it in high school that you're like, okay, I'm leaving a lot of these guys in the dust? Like, I followed a lot of athletes, a lot of hockey players through their teen years.
Right.
And at a point, you can point them out and be like, they're by far the best stinking player on the ice. And they get to pro and they're just kind of average.
Right.
But when you go back to their hometown and when they're young,
right,
you stand out over like someone like me who didn't like running or catching or throwing.
Going back, I started playing football in grade 3. This is actually the first summer in 20 years that I haven't had football. So that's
Wow.
kind of refreshing and exciting. But going back in my first year, I played linebacker and I played fullback, two hard-hitting positions. And I remember my first year, whenever I would get hit or make a hit, I'd start crying. It was hilarious.
Me too.
Yeah. So
except I did that last year.
So then I transitioned to quarterback the following year, and I played quarterback from grade 4 all the way through until grade 8 when I made the city all-star team. And the coach at the time, who ended up being my coach all the way through junior and through high school, Mark Townsend, knew that I play baseball as well, and that I was a center fielder. So he wanted to try me out at receiver. I said, okay, sounds good. I mean, like I've played quarterback, and that's all I know, but I know how to run and I know how to catch a ball. And we were playing in Vancouver. I think it was at South Delta, and I made one catch in that game, and I'm not sure the moment in the game, but my quarterback Jordan Pohl, who ended up being my quarterback for the next 6 or 7 years, he was rolling left, and I made a double move and was just running all the way down the field. He threw it up, and at first I'm like, this is like I'm not going to catch this. This is just way too far. And I just kept running, kept pumping my arms, and then just left my feet and just dove. And the ball. This is back when I didn't wear gloves as a receiver, so I actually had good hands back then. But I somehow made this sprawling diving catch in the back of the end zone, and I think I was 12 or 13 years old at the time. It was a big touchdown. Everyone went crazy. A couple of my teammates ran to the end zone. We celebrated and stuff. And then I remember coming back to the sidelines, and my coach said, "That right there is a college catch." And I'm like, "Oh, okay,
cool, good to know."
Yeah. So at that moment, I knew I wanted to be a receiver because I knew that I could do it, and I had the confidence. And especially after making the catch and after those few words from my coach, I was ready to go all in.
I can't obviously relate to it again in sports, but I can in TV and in film, where you can be trying at one thing and you can be okay at something. Like I started out as in writing as a writer, and then I got moved to being a reporter, and then I went on camera. Right. And I don't think I was terrible, but I remember when I did my first documentary,
right,
and just feeling in that moment, I was like, oh no, this is where I belong. Right? It's just, I can do this other thing, but I have an actual talent here, and I can, hopefully, knock on wood, if everything goes well, I can carry myself a lot further in this new role than this role that I originally thought I was going to be at. Is that a good comparison?
Yeah, I think so for sure. Growing up wanting to be an athlete, you think that you're going to have this illustrious career and you think it's going to last forever. But then one day your career's over, and you're in your 20s and you need to find something else, because especially football. I mean, if you're a golfer, you can play.
Yeah,
for a
you can
long
play
time,
to
a long time,
70-ish.
But I
It's
think
amazing.
I think the average pro football career is, I think, around 2.5 years.
Holy
So
smokes.
that is nothing. That is nothing. And
I think it's a season and a half in the NFL.
Is
It's
it?
even shorter in the NFL.
no way. Yeah. You know, and it's wild because you spend your youth and you spend so much time trying to get to this specific thing, this specific moment, and play a long pro career, but then it doesn't happen for a lot of guys. And I was one of those guys, but luckily I had something else that I was also passionate
You know what's interesting is that you actually took this a different direction than what I meant, but I love the way you took it.
Okay.
I was drawing a parallel from being a quarterback to a receiver. And then you actually drew the parallel when you heard it
Yeah.
from your playing career
Yeah.
into your post-playing career,
Right.
which is really stinking cool. And I want to go there, except I'd be a giant dick if we didn't talk about that first massive ring that you own.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
can't skip over what, to an outsider at least, seems to be the pinnacle of your playing career.
Right.
And that's being the best in the world in Canada.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So you're at Laurier.
Yeah.
What was, before we get into your pro career, the only thing I know about like post-secondary university athletics is what I see coming up from the NCAA in the States.
Right.
Right? Where it is a religion. Like, people go to one of two places in the South. They either go to the stadium on a Sunday, or they go to the bathroom and then back to their seat at the stadium on a Sunday.
Right.
It's so, they're doggedly religious about it. What's it like in Canada?
Like there definitely is aspects of that, but not quite the same feel as, you know, an Alabama or a Texas. But it is still special because, you know, you're going on the field to play football and to play with the guys around you and to play for your school. Like for me, it didn't matter how many people were in the stands, but you know, for Laurier homecoming, we would pull in 10, 12,000 people.
Holy smokes!
Which a kid coming from the only high school football team in Victoria to playing on national TV in front of 12,000 people is pretty special.
Pardon the question. Were you guys good at
Yeah,
Laurier?
yeah, we
like,
were.
Was it a good team?
It was a
I'm
good
sorry,
team.
I don't
Yeah.
follow like university football.
Yeah.
However many years ago.
Yeah.
But you guys were you'd call a decent team?
We were, yeah. No, I think in my first year, my first or second year, so 2009 or 2010 might have been our strongest years. We lost in the semis, in the OUA semifinals 3 years in a row.
Holy.
Heartbreakers too.
Did it go to penalty kicks?
It did not go to
It did.
actually. No. It didn't.
You tried to spin it.
I did.
Tried to make
I
it
did.
work.
I did.
I'm a sportsing person. Did it go to penalty kicks? Tell me, son. It's football, dude.
Yeah,
Other
no.
football.
My I think the 2009 team at Laurier was probably the best one that I played for. Just thinking back to the guys that we had, I think there ended up being quite a few guys to go to the CFL from that team, and you know it was just kind of my first experience coming from high school playing against guys that were, you know, 21, 22 years old, and everyone was big, everyone was fast. You know, back in high school, there's like a few people that kind of stand out per team, and then that kind of narrows itself down to all these collegiate teams where everyone was their high school all-star or the best player in their city or whatever. So, you know, the game was a lot faster and there was a lot more required, but I had an incredible time. And, you know, I was a big Oregon Ducks fan growing up, because my junior coach and high school coach, he had season tickets. So he was an Oregon fan, would always wear Oregon gear, had Oregon stuff on his car. So all of us growing up, we all became Oregon fans, and we'd always go on road trips down to Eugene to watch the Ducks play, and you know that was a pretty cool thing. And you know it's weird. BC high school football is the only province that plays American football.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So you know we play American field, four downs, like everything is American. And our first game of the year every year was in the States somewhere. So either in Oregon or in Washington. So to come from that to playing Canadian ball was different for me, and like, you know, having the waggle, and you know being a slotback and running to the
waggle
line. A waggle,
a waggle.
A waggle.
Is that a real term?
It is a real term.
And it's not just one of your footballer terms.
No, it is a Canadian football term.
No, it's a waggle.
So a waggle is when one of the inside receivers who are off the ball, off the line of scrimmage, can have a full steam run to the line of scrimmage before the ball snapped.
I've seen that,
You've seen that,
actually.
yeah. And now you know what
The
it's called.
Waggle.
It's called a Waggle.
Interesting. I'm going to bring that up next time I'm at
So
Toronto Argonauts game.
There's actually a CFL podcast called The Waggle.
What a brilliant name.
I know.
Oh, why didn't we think of that? Shoot. So you adapted when you went to university. You had to go from 4 downs to 3 downs and play on a... Is it a narrower field?
It's a wider field.
It's a wider field.
Longer field. There's just a couple
Holy
differences.
smokes. And less downs to get there on.
Yeah.
But I guess more room to move around.
Yeah, and for a receiver, it is more appealing too because you have more passing,
right?
More passing downs for sure because you don't.
If your quarterback likes you,
exactly. Yeah, but I think my first game in Canadian, like playing in OUA Canadian rules, I went offside so many times. I think it might have been 3 or 4 times in the first series.
Shoot!
Yeah,
that's how you get yourself stapled to the bench.
I know.
Unfortunately,
I know. Yeah, but luckily that didn't happen. Yeah.
So 3 runs to the
conference semis. Yeah,
the conference semis.
Yeah.
And then you have a 4th year that's a 4th year apparently.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I'm a bright young buck. I just got out and the pro's ahead of you.
Yeah.
That seems scary. Like, is it the same? Did you have an agent? Do you have to get an agent?
I had.
Like, how do you...
Yeah.
How does someone decide I'm going to go pro?
In the CFL and in Canadian football, after your 3rd year of eligibility in university, there is the CIS East-West Bowl.
Okay.
So the East-West Bowl is an all-star game put on showcasing the best players from across the country, but then also kind of identifying the top players for the CFL Combine and the CFL draft happening the next year. Mm-hmm. So I went to the East-West Bowl in my 3rd year, and then had a solid 4th year at Laurier. And then was invited to the CFL Combine.
Oh boy!
Yeah.
Did it happen out west like it does now, like in Winnipeg or something?
No, it's happened at the University of Toronto bubble.
Oh, perfect!
Yeah, it was great. It was close.
Yep.
I had a few teammates also training for it as well, and then like you have some foes from other teams playing against them, but then you end up training with them too. So you kind of go through that experience together. There was a handful of us from the Kitchener-Waterloo area. Guys from Guelph, guys from Laurier, guys from Waterloo, all kind of training for one specific thing, which was to show up on one weekend, run as fast as you can, jump as high as you can, and impress as many coaches as you can. It was a pretty nerve-wracking experience.
Is that the fairest way to do it? It's a lot of pressure.
It is.
And you're not that old. Like you're 21, 22 at the time. Maybe 23, but probably 21, 22.
I think 20, 21 at the time. But I think that's the best way to kind of like even the playing field too, and just make sure that everyone does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like they also incorporate a lot of football drills into it as well. But I think
like the button hook.
The button hook. Yeah.
Oh, that's the one football drill.
Who
I
calls
know.
it the button hook?
I don't know.
Yeah,
we did in flag football,
did,
I think. Is it not a thing?
It is a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Clayton 1, Jock 714.
But yeah, no, it was a stressful weekend, just because you're training for all these linear movements when football is not really a linear game, but it is a way just to make sure everyone does the same thing. Everyone has the same challenges. Everyone's lifting the same amount of weight. But yeah, it was an amazing experience, and you're just always trying to be the best version of yourself for an entire weekend. You're meeting all these coaches, all these general managers, and it's it was looking back, it was a pretty cool experience, and I was able to go through it with a couple of my buddies, and specifically my roommate Isaac Dell, who
I met Isaac.
Yeah, you remember?
We
Isaac.
had hamburgers together.
We did have hamburgers together. Yeah. So we have the same birthday. We were roommates. We played in the same team. And we had these experiences together.
Crazy.
Really cool. Yeah.
Is that the best day or the scariest day of your life when there's a draft going on and your name's in the hat? Like you kind of have to come face to face with like, am I actually any good?
Yeah.
Does anyone like me?
Yeah. I think this
is a lot of sports talk, by the way, like more than my average, and I hope you don't mind.
Oh no.
But this is something I've never even been close to going through,
right?
And we haven't really even talked about it in our friendship.
I know.
It's all really intriguing to me.
It is kind of refreshing to go back and talk about these things, because in the moment you're just so focused on the next thing that you don't really get a chance to appreciate what just happened. So it is kind of nice to go back and talk about it. Draft day was a really cool day. You know, it's this one specific, you know, it's this one day that you've envisioned for a long time. And you know, you envision that you're going to go to the team that you want to go for, and you're going to win a Grey Cup.
BC Lions. Is that where you wanted to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, like I
and you're going to win a Grey Cup, and you're going to be like the star receiver,
right?
You're going to apply your trade in the best way possible on the highest stage available.
Exactly. Yeah. Although I grew up a BC Lions fan, I wanted to play for any team. And funny enough, I was back home in Victoria watching the draft with my mom and my sister, and I think it was the 5th round that my phone started to vibrate,
right? And
it was I believe a 306, which is Saskatchewan. I was like, no way, this is happening right now. And then before I answered it, I started getting a bunch of text messages, because I was watching the live stream, but then I guess online it would pop up faster. So a lot of people knew before I knew.
Yeah.
It was also funny too, because so Isaac, my roommate and buddy, was drafted 2 spots before me.
Holy smokes!
To Hamilton, and then my other good buddy Matt Vonk was, I think, drafted just before me. So I was super excited for these guys that I've played with, that I've trained with, that I've gone through this grind with. That, you know, when your name pops up on the TV saying that you've been drafted by the Saskatchewan Roughriders, it takes a moment to sink in. But you know, my mom's screaming, my sister's screaming, my phone's blowing up. It was a really cool moment. And going back to that one BC Lions game that I went to back as a kid, one guy that I met specifically was G. Roy Simon. And G. Roy Simon now is the all-time leading receiver in the Canadian Football League. But I grew up idolizing this guy. Yeah. And I think it might have been a few days or a week before I was drafted to Saskatchewan, he was traded to Saskatchewan. So now I'm a Rough Rider, and I get to
be on the team
with my childhood hero, which is
holy smokes.
Pretty cool.
He made it past the 2.5 year
he did
limit.
Yeah.
He had a bit of a career for him.
Played a long time. I think his first year might have been 1999, 1998.
Wow.
So yeah, no, I have this photo that I ended up showing him at training camp, but it was both of us at that on that day when I was 12. And
that's so neat.
Yeah, so no, he was. Yeah, it was a really special moment, and to be able to share that with him too.
Interesting thought. When you said your phone blew up after you were drafted, do you think it's cooler now, or do you think it would be better in '99 if you were drafted and you can just kind of live the moment without talking to every person that's ever recognized your name and have your Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever the heck in their phone?
I think so, for sure.
To go back or now?
Yeah. No, to go back, because everyone who you want to share that moment with will either be there or knows your phone number.
Yeah.
You know, rather than having Twitter and Instagram and all these things too. But I actually just
we took science together. You don't remember me? Congrats, man. He wants to be part of your entourage.
I know. But I remember this. I think it was a photo of when Brett Favre was drafted. And he's in his bedroom with his entire family laying on his bed.
He was a linebacker, right?
He's quarterback.
Yeah, I know. I'm joking.
Okay.
That was the joke.
Sports. Yeah.
That's my anti-sports joke for the day. Womp womp. Go home, Clay.
But he's sitting there on his bed with this massive brick of a phone. It is such an amazing photo. Baker Mayfield, who was drafted first overall this year to the Cleveland Browns, his quarterback. Him and his family on, I think the morning of the draft, recreated that photo.
Oh my goodness!
And it is sweet. Like
brilliant.
If you have a chance, go and go and look it up. But
totally go back then.
Yeah,
when it's not as, you can just kind of keep it a little more intimate.
Yeah, for sure.
Greatest part of your playing careers. I'm going to go through this really quickly, but there's a reason why I want to go through it really quickly. Yes, you played on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Yes, you were a receiver. You were very good at what you did. So good that you went on to become the world champion of Canada, right? And lift the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
Highlight of your career?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was a highlight for sure, because I played a lot of sports growing up.
Yeah.
So many sports, but
all the sports.
I love sports.
I sports it all the time.
Yeah, but it never won anything.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so minor baseball, I played t-ball all the way through up until the week before going to Laurier for Team BC, and I played on Team Canada for football in high school just before going to university. And I played all these sports all the time, and you should see the amount of silver and bronze medals that I have. It's actually hilarious because
poor guy.
Yeah, you just pour your heart and soul into these sports and give everything, and you just fall short all the time, and it's crushing. But you wanna have that feeling of the season finishes, the clock hits zero, and there's no one better than that team you're on.
Mm-hmm.
And that was such a crazy moment to storm the field with the guys. And funny enough, the Riders Regina was hosting the Grey Cup that year too.
Holy smokes!
So it was,
they kind of like football out there.
They like it a little bit.
Regstown, they appreciate their CFLers.
Yeah. So that was an unbelievable week, and just to be able to have that experience there too with all the Rider fans. And I had my girlfriend, my mom, my grandma, my uncle, like a bunch of people out there too for that weekend. And it was a pretty amazing moment just to experience that confetti coming.
What's the memory at the forefront? And I believe those exist. Yeah. Like, so people will be like, "Oh, I don't have just one memory. The whole thing was amazing." No. Yeah. Because when you look back in your own mind and you think about it, you have one thing imprinted, and then the rest of everything else floods in.
So I would say that one moment that I will never forget is my first catch in the CFL. And it wasn't a big catch at all. I think it might have been like 6 or 7 yards, but I was on the stat sheet. And I had a catch. And then I ran back to the huddle, and the first guy to congratulate me was G. Roy Simon, the guy who I met back when I was 12 years old. Yeah. So to kind of have that, come back to the huddle, you crouch down for the next play, and he looks over and gives you a little dap. It's like, wow, that's kind of a little full circle story right there.
What's the one moment from the Grey Cup? If the first thing I say, you were a Grey Cup champion.
Yeah.
We all know that. What's the first thing from that game? The strongest thing from that game?
The whole thing was kind of a blur, but I think just when the clock hit zero, and you just don't know what to do with yourself. Yeah. I think I might have been screaming like a little girl and just jumping around, running around, and just celebrating with your team. And it was just something that I'd never experienced before. To kind of have that feeling. The season's done. You're a champ, and no one can take that away from you.
Best moment of your career, worst moment in your career and I'm wondering if it's what I think it is.
When I got cut.
Yeah.
That was such a terrible feeling. Such a terrible. This is I don't talk about it too much.
No.
Yeah, it was you play so many sports, and I had never been cut from a team before. Okay.
I purposely wanted to sandwich your best moment, the worst moment. Yeah. But now put this: are we a year and a half removed from the Grey Cup win?
So we won the Grey Cup in 2013, and this was
in November, I guess, the end of November 2013.
So November 2013, and then this would have been end of June 2015. So not too far apart, but I had a great off season training with my teammate Rob Bagg. We went into camp that year, and I thought I had a great camp. We had just finished the final day of 2 days, so the hardest part of camp was finished. You walk in, you're excited because a new season's just around the corner. Yeah. And I'll never forget, I walked into the locker room, took my helmet off, and I locked eyes with our assistant general manager across the. There's probably 100 people because training camp there's a lot of guys on the team at that point. But I remember I looked across the thing, and he had a clipboard in his hand, and we locked eyes. I'm like, oh, no, this is it. So I put my stuff in the locker, walked across past all the guys. I was still in my sweaty practice gear, and walked in, and he said, "Alex, I want to thank you for everything, but we are going to let you go." And you just don't know what to, you're just deflated, you're just destroyed, and it's just what do you mean? I didn't really know how to take it, but I just wanted to thank him for that opportunity to be a part of the team and win a championship and be a part of Rider Nation, which was such an amazing experience. But then I think other than not that, but the next hardest part was packing up your stuff in a garbage bag. And I think the team was back out on the field doing a walkthrough of some sort, and I was just walking on the outside of the fence with this garbage bag over my shoulder, walking back to my dorm room, and a fan asked me for an autograph, and I was like, do you not see what's going on right now? So
they don't know.
Yeah, no, they don't know. And it was just such a weird thing, because like playing football in the prairies is really, really cool. Like it's a really cool experience, and just to see, you know, the sun setting and like the prairie sky, and like you're kind of walking away from this thing. And like, although it was a shitty moment, it was also, I was kind of excited to see what else I had to offer, because there were going back to the 2014 season, there were a couple moments when I would be running out of the tunnel at Mosaic Stadium, like such an amazing atmosphere to play in, the fireworks going off, there's fire, the fans are screaming, and I'm like, man, like I wish I had my camera. I wish I had a glide cam. This is a sweet tracking shot of the guys going out.
You're such a nerd.
I know. So
one of us. You go from saying, I don't talk about this often, to me asking the most questions about it, because to me, for me, it's the point. I remember. Okay, I'll tell you the story.
Yeah.
I had gone through a really tough year, and I won't get into all the details, but I had some, like, my parents split up, I had some illness in the family, I had a relationship end, it just all kind of piled up, and I'm on the subway one day, and if you know the Toronto subway line, we have two. One runs north-south, the other one east-west, and I'm on the one heading west, and there's a spot just past Dundas West Station where you pop up above ground, and everyone pulls out their cell phone and they can check their messages. And here I had just been through what I had been in my life, this terrible run of bad stinking luck. And I hear this girl crying, and she's sobbing, and she's on the phone. And she says, I just had the worst day of my life. I don't know how I'm going to make it through. And she proceeds to tell who I think, I ended up deducing that it was her sister, that there was a project she thought was due next week that had to go in today, and it's worth a large amount of her mark. And then she received test results in another class, and she had failed, and it was a very important test. And then she was in one of her last classes of the day, and there was a surprise test which she was not ready for, and it just seemed like everything was piled up. And I had this realization in the moment that everyone goes through the worst day of their life, and everyone feels it the same. We all go through a worst day of our life. Just what the day is different.
Right.
And so that's why, even though I don't mean to drag you through it, it's so relatable, because all of us have experienced a moment where we have to swallow, whether it's our hope or a certain hope or a certain dream, and deal with it with dignity.
Yeah.
As I believe, knowing you as a human, I know you did.
Right.
And with sincerity. But then you have to, whether it's in the walk off the field with a garbage bag, or if it's when you wake up the next morning, or in the coming week, you have to face the reality that there's a new day tomorrow, and we're not done yet. So was it that prairie sun setting? Because you paint a picture, something that you and I understand very well, because I could draw the stinking storyboard and see the guy walking off into the sunset with the field behind him and his future ahead of him. Right. Was it truthfully that moment?
It was.
Really?
You
saw it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I'm so impressed.
Yeah,
it takes me at least an hour.
Like I oh man. Yeah, I don't know. I had wanted to be a professional football player for as long as I can remember, and then I'm not sure where it started to switch, that I wanted to find something else. I think maybe once you start to introduce the business into the game is kind of when I started to lose that fire and passion a little bit. I knew I had more to offer, but I didn't want to let a lot of people down that had kind of cheered me on all the way up until that point. So even if I wasn't happy, or like I was frustrated with how things were going, I wanted to do it for them sometimes, more so than I wanted to do it for myself. So then I kind of, after I was cut, I kind of saw that as a moment to say, hey, you know what, like
this was out of my hands.
Yeah.
I can make the change now, because someone is they've almost opened the door for you,
right,
to leave.
Yeah. And I was tired of letting someone else determine what I was going to do with my life, and whether it was like after I was released, I would get phone calls from different teams saying, hey, like, we're going to bring you in for a tryout. We're going to sign you on Friday. And then everything would always fall through last minute. And I was like, you know what, like I'm done with this. Like I'm ready to see what else is else is out there and what else I have to offer the world. And that is when, after I was released, my girlfriend had moved from Kingston back to Toronto to start her new job with the Canadian Cancer Society. And she had moved back to her parents' place for the summer because I was going to be in Regina for the rest of the year, and we're going to find a place downtown Toronto after the season. And then she moves home, and 3 weeks later, I'm released.
Yeah.
And I come back to Toronto, and then I didn't want to be that boyfriend living in the parents' basement.
No.
But then I took that moment to go back home. Back home to BC, the place where I left in 2009, and left to go play college football and go pro. And up until that moment, like, I hadn't been able to go home a lot and just go home and just be with friends and be with family. So I went home for the rest of the summer.
That's guy code for drink. If anyone's wondering,
drinking golf.
When you're drinking golf, when I say be with friends and be with family, you know them 6 beers deep already.
So I went home to BC that summer, and one of the first video projects I worked on. So kind of leading up to this moment, I had taken the off seasons to kind of start developing my craft in video storytelling. Yep. So I think in my fourth year university, my mom bought me a GoPro for my birthday, amazing. Which was amazing. Like, I brought it on family vacations, filmed videos of my dog, did
backflips and swimming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was amazing. And then in second year university, I bought my first DSLR. It was a Canon 60D. I bought it.
My guy, Canon
box deal. It was great.
Really? Yeah, smart man.
Yeah, it was great. So then I started filming events at school. I started filming like our women's flag football tournament, the powder puff stuff. I would start filming training videos and how the videos for friends and teammates of other sports. And then kind of progressively through my time with the Riders, since playing the CFL, you're kind of 6 months on, 6 months off. Yep. You want to try and gain experience outside of your sport with a company of whatever, but a lot of people don't give you the chance sometimes because you're
only going to be there a couple months.
In a couple months, yeah. So I
never thought of that before.
It's really tough, yeah.
That makes complete sense, but I've never thought of that before.
Yeah, because it's a long season. You finish the end of November. You want to take December off, and then you get into your training. April, you have to go away for mini camp, and then May you're heading back to training camp. So there isn't a lot of time to try other things. So Megan, my girlfriend, and I were living in Kingston at the time.
Shout out to Meg, who's an absolute doll. Holy smokes! Like, if she can put up with me for more than one evening, she's a winner for sure. She's
great, and she was working at Queen's after she left Laurier. She's working for the engineering department. So
of course, no big deal.
I know. So Kingston was our home for a couple of years. So I would spend 6 months in Regina, 6 months in Kingston, and Kingston, amazing city, not a huge hub for video production.
No, not exactly. You're right. I can see that.
They're like now there are a few companies doing amazing stuff there, but back when I was there, I think there might have only been one or two. But I took that opportunity to knock door to door on all these little small businesses in Kingston and just say, hey, like, can I tell your story? And in exchange, I'll make you a business video. And I think I would get paid $100 or $200 or $300, and it was amazing. It was amazing to
You're the one undercutting the industry.
Yeah, I know.
You're why everyone wants a bigger deal.
Yeah, I kind of took that opportunity to start developing another craft. And then after I was released from the Riders and went back to BC, the first video I made was a video about myself. Which
I've seen that
which
one.
Which was like it was a little tough to tell, but
oh really? It seemed like you did it fine.
Came together pretty good.
Hi, I'm Alex Anthony. You may remember me from such films as Me, Myself, and Alex, and documentaries like The Best Football Player That Ever Lived.
Big Al.
Yeah, Big Al. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
No, can't forget that one.
So you went back home and just took a reflective, introspective moment.
I did, yeah.
And kind of examined your own story and your own journey up until that point.
Yeah, and I just mainly did that specific video because I wanted to share with people that I was more than a football player, that I had this other passion and this other fire to me that didn't involve running around and catching a ball, because everyone in my hometown kind of saw me as that, because I was always a sports person. I was always leaving Victoria to go play sports somewhere. So I just wanted to take that moment just to say, hey, like, I'm more than a football player. I have other things happening as well, and just wanted to share my story. And after I did that, I started to get calls and messages and stuff saying, hey, like, I had no idea that that you had this other side to you, which was refreshing. It was really cool. And then the first kind of business thing that I did after that was I started reaching out to people and businesses, and specifically Kyle Scott at the CFL office, and said, hey, like this is my story. I played for the Riders, but I also have this other passion of filmmaking. Like, can I help you guys out with anything? Can I like do some tests to see if I'm able to do some work with you guys? And he gave me a couple tests just to kind of put together these little story highlight videos called the Best in the League. So I did a few of those projects for the rest of the year, and then they ended up flying me to Winnipeg for the Grey Cup that year.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
So that would have been is that the end of
2015? Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Which is a crazy thing, because like when I first went back to BC, it was tough to watch any football, because you see the guys, you see your teammates and stuff, and it's just kind of, although you're cheering them on and want the best for them, it kind of digs down a little bit and it hurts. But it's funny that I started the season on a team and finished it
at a Grey Cup
behind a camera at the Grey Cup.
So you end the season at the Grey Cup. Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
And not to make a massive deal of this, but you end up on another team, but in a different role, working with the Argos, and that's when we met.
Yeah.
Because hopefully you feel this way, but I was like, oh, this guy sees sports the way I do.
Yeah.
He's just better at it than I am. But there's something I saw in there that I could relate to. Was it hard going back on another team, not as a player, or was it like quote unquote easy?
At first, it was definitely difficult. Just kind of going from playing against these guys and playing against these coaches to being with them in a different capacity.
Yeah,
it was the best possible transition. The one thing that I struggled with a little bit was some of the coaches still seeing me as a player.
Oh, that's interesting.
Kind of treating me as a player. I'm like, I'm not one of your guys anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm your coworker. You can't do that. But
they love to boss you around.
Oh yeah.
They love to play coach all the time.
Yeah. It was great, and it was amazing when the season started, because I didn't realize that I would apply all this football knowledge to something behind the camera. Whether, like, I'm gonna go football nerd here, but if it's
bring it on,
second and long, backed up on the 25, quads to the fields. I'm like, okay, there's probably going to be a certain route breaking it, aiming for 25 yards. I'm going to run up the field to the 50-yard line, get nice and low, because there might be a deep shot right here. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes I was wrong, but to have that knowledge of the playbooks and the games and the schemes and the formations did wonders in my first year, and just kind of able to capture some really cool moments.
I think all of us in life, if you give a shit about your career, and most of us do, we look for our unique insight into something, and that was yours at that job at the time, right? And that being back, that's your key, that's your unique insight. They're like, oh, I have something that not everybody has, and even if you've watched football for a long time, I still know more than you.
Right.
Because I lived it, and I had to run these stupid routes. Not stupid, but you know what I mean. Like
button hooks.
I had to do the button hooks every time they were undone. And if there was a slant, right?
Yeah.
I had to be the slanty guy heading. But you understand what I'm saying? Like that gave you a leg up. And that's something we're all looking for, is what's our unique vision, what's our unique voice, what's our unique perspective.
Right.
How did you see yourself evolve? So you're in this familiar environment, doing something that you have an idea that you're good at, right? And I'm making videos. Yeah. I'm a videographer making videos. I'm doing the videos for you,
Videotaper.
You're the videotaper, exactly. The pro videotaper. And from the first things I saw of yours, I could see your talent right away. But you must, on the inside, know your growth and see how you were able to progress over the course of 2 years.
Yeah, I think at first it was really cool, because I had spent so much time on the football field challenging myself physically, that I could challenge myself in a different way and creatively, and see what angles, what things I could make with this crazy barbaric sport, and how I could slow it down add some emotional music to it, and tell a great story.
It is kind of like a formula, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's just like, I do a little bit of this and a dash of that and add a bit of meat and boom, you got yourself a video.
Yeah. But no, just definitely seeing the progression from that first year. You try a lot of things. You would experiment. I was the only person who would press record on game day. So, I had a lot of flexibility to try different things and kind of grow that way too, which is awesome. I think we finished last place in the CFL in 2016, which is
solid.
Yeah, which is very solid.
The good news is you're only 9th.
This is true,
right? So you're still top 10.
Top 10. Yeah, no. Yeah. So that was good.
Yeah,
but
that was great.
You pour your heart and soul into these productions and these things that you want to tell the stories of the players and of this team and get people excited and people to come out to the games. And then when the team's not doing the greatest, it's tough because the fans just pull the negative out of it too. After the 2016 season, a lot of the coaches got fired and they brought in a whole new regime. I brought in Mark Trestman and Jim Pop, who were together in Montreal. Amazing duo, and they had done some incredible things in Montreal, and they came in after free agency the following spring, so spring 2017, and everyone thought, like we went through free agency without a coach or a GM. We're like, oh no, here we go again. Here go the Toronto Argonauts.
Yay! Yeah, sportsing.
I know, but then they came in and changed the culture, like right from day one, and it was as a creative, it was so refreshing to work with that because. They set the standard that no one was bigger than anyone else. So even if I wanted to request a guy for a shoot, the guys were excited about it, and it was never a big ask. It was always okay, like of course, man, like whatever you need, let's do it. And as you know, it was a pretty incredible journey last year.
It's great. You got another ring.
I did,
dude.
Ring.
Like,
yeah.
You had the big Saskatchewan one. If that wasn't enough, the guy needs 2.
Yeah.
And Argos make like the worst to best. It went from the bottom of the barrel right to Grey Cup champions.
Yeah.
And so this was now like your moment.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm throwing my hands up in the air because it's like your second big win.
Yeah.
Right? You have the first in your first career.
Right.
But this is the second coming of Alex. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
It's Alex's second coming.
Yeah.
And he gets a ring for it, but you got to do it in a whole new way.
Yeah. That was really, really cool to kind of have that experience as a player on a championship team and then also as a member of a staff winning and kind of having a different perspective. And, all these emotions that I was feeling winning one as a player was now my job to capture these moments and, tell an amazing story and just document the incredible journey of the 2017 Argos.
Let's nerd out a little bit. Let's go a little filmy, nerdy stuff.
I love it.
If you're going to pick a couple movies, as I didn't even plan these, I'm just thinking them off the top of my head. I'm reading off a sheet. What movies do you relate to? What, not type of movies, but if you're going to come up with like 3 or 4, what movies do you relate to? And I mentioned earlier at the beginning, emoting through, that allow you to kind of open up a different part of your inside.
Right.
What kind of movies do that for you?
Oh man, it's a great question. My longtime favorite movie is The Sandlot.
We talked about that. Remember, you sent me a text. You were like, you used a piece of music that reminded me of The Sandlot. What is it? Where can I get it? And I was like, wow, you must really like those kids.
I know. No,
that big damn dog.
The Great Bambino. The Sultan of the Colossus of Cloud. Anyways, that
you have seen it. No,
I have, yeah. I actually have I have a T-shirt. I have a Sandlot T-shirt too.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it's pretty great.
You fit in with those West End hipsters.
I know.
Totally,
it's great. I wear
it now. Do you have an Atari one
with my cuffed up jeans?
Oh,
ankles out.
I'm pretty. You can see it right now. We're both cuffed up. Actually, it's just you show a little bit more skin than I do. And those sexy legs.
But yeah, as far as favorite movies go, Sandlot is number one for sure. Off the top of my head, I can't.
What do you look for in a movie when you're like I will say this unabashedly. I like blockbusters.
Yeah.
Damn it. Like, a lot of people, especially in the film industry, will be like, oh, well, you got to like these little art films that are shit. I like a blockbuster film. And then there's a very special type of blockbuster film that occurs where you have this giant budget. I don't think giant budget is the devil. I think it's pretty cool. But then they also have this really neat theme. And thematically, you have a real concise line. And then you have this third element that gets thrown in that no one can predict. And that's when something really crazy happens in the world, right? And it could be good, it could be bad. But for whatever reason, it just cements some of those movies into our consciousness. And that, to me, is like the perfect storm when everyone becomes aware of an issue as it's kind of being told in a story, which, as we know, has been planned for 4 years in advance.
Right.
It's not like they actually knew that or was riding off the back of it. And there's a little bit of budget behind it. So you have, actors and directors that you enjoy seeing. I am a sucker for a blockbuster film. And I will even see the one I saw, Transformers 19 or whatever the heck it was. And I'm not going to say I loved it, but I like sitting in a big theater with a lot of people and feeling everyone's reaction with me.
Right. I mean, that was kind of like when we watched Dunkirk in 70 mm.
Oh my goodness, wasn't that
having
great?
That experience is pretty cool. But also, that's why I like hanging out with you, because
I'm a nerd.
There is a lot of reasons why I like hanging out with you, but
I'll let you borrow my camera.
The way you're able to break down movies.
Why, thank you.
Because sometimes I can't express why I like the movie, and why it hit me in a certain way. But the fact that you're able to enjoy them, but also dissect it and apply it to your own work is pretty cool.
Well, thank you. Apply it to my own work in the sense that I would love to make a movie like this one day. Yep. That's how I apply it to my own work. It would be really cool if I could do something like this one day.
I know. But yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. Like I love those. I love blockbuster movies. I love going to a movie and not thinking about the technical side of things, and just being so lost in the story, and just wanting to cheer on this character all the way through. And I get that a lot with sports movies.
There's a relatability there too, though. Is that you can put yourself in the shoes of that person,
for sure,
because it's a familiar environment. Rudy. Put Rudy in, coach.
So good, man. So good. I actually went to my first Notre Dame game last year.
Oh, with your dad and your brother, right?
Yeah, it was great. And they had this big Rudy jacket for sale in the bookstore, and it was $600.
Of course, it was.
Kind of wanted it
because Notre Dame will always make a buck.
Yeah, I know,
let's be honest. They have a very big program to support there.
Yeah. But I think definitely sports movies for sure. But the last one that I saw in theaters was A Quiet Place.
Oh, we saw that together.
We did. The last movie I saw was with Clayton. And we saw A Quiet Place.
Dang.
Yeah.
It was a great date.
Yeah.
I will tell you, what an interesting movie that was. Because for me, at least, here, let me talk. It is my podcast, Alex. Just sit down.
It was your birthday, right?
That was my... You took me out... It was the only thing... I was backlogged in that crazy Major League Soccer project.
Right.
And I gave up all my birthday plans, and then you took me out to a movie.
Yeah,
that's right. Thank you very much. And we saw we just bumped fists. So I feel like an athlete. What was so interesting that I felt during that movie is that, okay, yes, it's genius, or whatever. I don't want to say it's genius, but the monsters have super great hearing, right? They can't see shit, but they have great hearing, which if I'm going to write that on the back cover of a DVD, it doesn't sound awesome. When you see it as an joint audience, because everything in the movie is so quiet. If anyone crinkles their bag of popcorn, you get a little bit of fear on the inside.
100%,
and you want to tell them to shut up because there's a fucking monster that's going to eat your soul. And I think there's something so incredible about a shared experience that you can try to plan for and you try to cater to. And I believe that was it produced by
John Krasinski?
Yeah, I think he produced it. I don't know if he wrote or directed by.
He directed it. It wasn't Michael Bay, was it?
I don't know.
I think
that may have produced it.
I think so. Yeah, I don't know.
But they know what they're doing, and being able to know what you're doing ahead of time is this brilliant gift. But being part of the audience in this shared experience where you realize everyone else is trying to be as quiet as possible because they are feeling the same thing you're feeling, that none of you feel okay with the idea of making a noise, I think is magical. And it's nothing, as much as I love iTunes and I get movies on it all the time, and Netflix and TMN on the Go or whatever the heck it's called, or HBO Go. I have them all, but I will not get that feeling anywhere else than sitting in a movie theater where I know we're all thinking and feeling the same thing without ever talking to each other.
Face deep in a bucket of popcorn.
And you taught me the popcorn and peanut butter M&Ms trick, which I've been to the movies I think 2 or 3 times since.
Yeah,
but every single time.
Man, it's a game changer. Sweet and salty.
It is a game changer, except now I'm like force feeding twice as much shit into my body at the same time. It's why if you haven't seen Alex, it's actually, you know what? No, you know who I am. We talk probably online somewhere, me and listener, you listener. So you've no doubt seen Alex's stuff because we've teamed up on so much stuff together, including All for One, the Canadian Olympic Committee video about Hockey Canada, or the men's hockey team where we got to go to Latvia. The golf video that won an award last year, we teamed up on that together. How would you describe your style of storytelling? Because I don't know how I describe it, but I think this is where we meet minds a lot.
Right.
But how would you categorize your style of storytelling?
I don't know if I've ever categorized my style.
Yes, you have.
You think so?
Yep, totally. I think it's on your, I don't know, you've written it somewhere. I've
Really?
seen it written. You're very good at what you do.
Thank you.
And you're very, you know there's something that sets you apart from other people who try to do the same thing. And I say this in all humility, because I don't want to be like a dickhead about it. But like me, we have often watched a lot of other people's work that are of the same income level, let's say, of ourselves. Like, we're not looking at HBO necessarily and saying and criticizing them or critiquing them, but we can see in a lot of other people similar mistakes and similar patterns, which I believe your storytelling, with the tools you've had available and the budget you've had available, has broken away from.
Right.
So what are some of those things that you do, that you try to do, that breaks away from many of your peers that you've seen, and not like other people at the Argos, but people in similar positions, whether in the CFL or NFL or MLS or NHL or whatever?
Yeah. I think especially in the sports world, I've always been so intrigued with who these guys are off the field. Just also because I knew that I had something off the field. So even when I was working for a football team, I was more intrigued with these guys' stories off the field. Something traumatic that happened in their childhoods, something unique. Whether they're into music or whatever. Aside from football, those were the things that really got me excited.
Mm-hmm.
Like, football is an amazing game. Mm-hmm. There is big hits, big catches, touchdowns, fans, celebrations. There's everything, but it was something about kind of taking the helmets off these athletes and sharing their unique stories. For example, one of them, Brandon Whitaker, who was the running back for the Toronto Argonauts. He has a really unique story of the Oklahoma City bombing. He was on a field trip going to visit the building next door in Oklahoma City, where his mom was working, and when they were on the way there, the bomb went off. Yeah, and he didn't know if his mom survived. She did. She did. Yeah, she did survive. But it's just these unique stories that allow the audience and the fans and the viewers to connect more with the athlete, because especially in the CFL too, like, a lot of people will tune in and watch these guys for 3 hours on a Saturday, and that's the only interaction that they have with them. So my goal was to kind of peel back the layers and kind of showcase who these guys are off the field. I think that's kind of where I found my passion that way.
The Brandon Whitaker story, if I remember correctly, it had a really great graphic at the end. I'm thinking back, and I don't know, did he sign his name on the screen? Because the genius behind that, Alex, is just unbelievable. Full disclosure, I did the graphic, and I felt really cool because I got to team up with Alex on something.
I was going to say it was just a sweet iMovie plugin, but...
Fuck you. Well, you're a lousy friend. Thanks for the movie on my birthday, but eat a dick. I got to play a small part, and actually made me feel really good because...
And you saved me.
I what?
You saved me, man.
I didn't save you.
I spent hours trying to figure that out, and you sent it within 45 minutes.
I didn't save you. I was just happy because I'm like, I got to be a part of a good video. Visual storyteller. That's how if I were to classify you, you don't use abstracts. You don't dwell too much on talking heads. You are a very, very visual storyteller. And that may have been an excellent example, because when there was the moment where you let the viewer know that the bomb went off, you simply had papers just falling from the sky.
Right.
You really just set up a camera and threw papers in the air and record it slow-mo.
Yeah.
But it does a couple things. First of all, it shows, in my opinion, a complete emptiness of what the hollowness of what that moment would have been.
Right.
There's not a lot. It's not visually distracting. You show a falling from top to bottom, which for everyone, I don't want to step on toes, but unfortunately that is what happened when half the building fell down. So the motion of it is correct, and the simplicity helped me tune into what was being said and what I was hearing, which was ringing at the point, like the ringing in your ears.
Yeah.
But everything you do, it's always visually represented so well on screen. And it could just be, there could be so many, like the Lays Project, the 15-minute, it's a digital documentary on the Argos championship season, more specifically the run through the playoffs. Even the sound of what a team sounds like all those emotions, those shouting, they're ramping each other up. But you're visually showing what a team looks like and what a winning team looks like by simply showing the ring. Right? You visually tell us. We don't need to see the guy yelling. We don't need to have, talking heads on screen.
Right.
You show us the ring, and that is the epitome of togetherness right there. It's 55, 53, big room of guys coming together all for one goal. And that was, for the working title originally was Pull Together?
Pull Together, yeah.
Pull Together.
Yeah.
For different reasons, it had to get changed. But it was so neat, and it's so neat to watch you tell stories that way, because you do sometimes the simplest thing that has the biggest impact. And you are in my opinion, not to put words in your mouth, or put you in a box, because we're all about breaking molds here, but you are totally a visual storyteller, and it comes through with your passion for cinematography, for shooting. You call yourself a director of photography, which is awesome. You are an incredible storyteller, creator, producer, director, because you interact with the guys very, very well.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah.
You're really good at what you do.
Oh, thanks, Clay.
Video
guy.
No problem. Of the stuff we've worked on here, now you can pat me on the back. Of the stuff we've worked on together, what's your favorite?
Oh, man.
We've done a couple things.
We have, yeah.
You came in, you shot MLS playoffs with me.
I think I shot two games in 2016 with you.
Yeah, the semifinals and the finals.
Yeah, the semifinal game versus Montreal, TFC versus Montreal, BMO Field. That was
wild night.
That must have been one of the coolest sporting experiences that I've ever had, and to be able to be right behind the net, the rain's coming down, piercing through the stadium lights, as someone who loves pretty pictures, that was an absolutely perfect night, and the fact that TFC was able to pull it off too. Yeah. I think with 5-3 aggregate.
5-3. No, that was an aggregate. It was 5-3. Was final. Oh no, was it 5-3 aggregate? Yeah, it was 5-3 aggregate. Because he was 3-3. Yeah, you're better than me. That was so long ago. Yeah. I've had a championship, so you've had how do you remember any of this?
Yeah.
That was neat. We did also the finals that year. Yeah. We did Argos opening the next year.
Yeah.
Right? Home opener.
Yeah. We did golf video.
Which was awesome.
That was a lot of fun because there was no client. There was no expectations.
Well, you were my client technically.
Okay, well, you're my bad.
I had.
Yeah, and then there was
no one could tell you to make an edit.
Yeah, and we just went out. We went out for what it was like. I think probably an hour and a half on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Just went out and got the final tee time. Played no golf other than hitting a few balls off the tee. But as the sun was setting over North Toronto. Yeah, we got some.
I see, some parallels here. What? All big moments in your life start with the sun setting.
This is true, man. Yeah.
The night's always darkest before the dawn.
Great movie.
I can't sing.
We've done some cool things together. I think kind of switching back and forth between football and soccer, two completely different pacing of sports, and require a lot of different things, which is really cool. I love the golf one, but also having the experience to go to Latvia together.
That was wild, wasn't it?
That was unbelievable. That was such a cool experience.
It's kind of wild because it all started they did start 10 days or whatever before, where they did approach you, and make sure the budget can line up and all that kind of stuff. But maybe it was the excitement of them getting the green light so late and knowing that we had to just hustle to move and get on the plane, or the fact that we're like in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Right? It was freezing cold, and we were there for one piece.
Yep. We got the green light on a Thursday morning.
Yeah.
We were prepping.
7:30 a.m.
7:30 a.m. I texted you saying, actually, I called you Wednesday, asked if you want to go to Latvia.
Yeah.
And then Thursday morning, we got the green light. Thursday night, we prepped for a big Argos doc interview shoot, which happened Friday.
All day long.
But we also had to pack all the gear that we needed for Latvia because we hopped on a red eye Friday night
to Poland then arrived there in the morning and Europe time, then got another flight to Latvia.
And thank you for Clay's airline status, getting us free bags, free booze, lounges at every
Wasn't that
airport.
Great?
Oh man.
It makes traveling so much. Skip the line, like the skip the line card.
Oh my goodness.
Board first, priority security.
Such a great experience. I almost consider just somehow buying that status.
You can.
Oh
yeah, it's a lot of money.
Nice.
But you can buy status if you want and just be like, that's all I want for the year.
Oh man.
Let's just do it.
I think if I were to travel more, I'd probably do it.
I think that Canadian Olympic piece is my favorite we've worked on together.
Yeah.
Only because if you haven't seen it, check it out. It deals with all the non-NHL players that came into play the 2018 Winter Olympics in Korea, because the NHL had decided not to send their players. And if you're in Canada or the United States, having our NHLers is everything to us. Especially in Canada, hockey is everything to us. And so they were definitely the forgotten. No one really wanted them there because everyone was just pissed off that the other guys couldn't come. And if you recall, I wrote an alternate script to send back, and we sent it back saying, guys, what you're saying, what you want them to say is kind of harsh. Can we lighten it up a little bit?
Yeah.
And good on them for sticking with it, because it was perhaps in as short as 60 seconds.
60 seconds, yeah.
It is one of the most brilliant pieces I was fortunate enough to work on because it was so to the point. And it allowed us really, as soon as we knew that this was just the job we had to do, and they wanted us to move ahead with this script, which I was nervous about, my job became really easy. It's like, okay, how do I make the player become the most comfortable with this idea and deliver the way we want them to?
Right. And
it became, actually at that point, very freeing, because all I had to do was worry about the words.
Yeah, exactly.
And what they're saying. But I think it's a mixture between last minute flights to Latvia, the fact that we got to do it together, the black balsam that we drank, which if you're ever in Latvia, buy a bottle and then buy a bottle of Advil at the same time. It's going to kill you. And the fact that there was a piece of me that was unsure of the message in the end, which made me, I think when it came out so dang strong.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it was crazy experience. It was a while, and it was amazing working on that one with you. It
was amazing working with you.
Yeah, I know, it was great. We're in bordering Russia.
Yep.
In February.
In February.
Yep. Yeah. And,
it was stinking cold. We turned a very nice suite into a set.
Yeah.
We did a good job with that too, I think.
Yeah. That was a wild trip, and I remember you were pulling all nighters too, working on other things.
I had other projects at the same time.
And we're already jet lagged.
Yeah. And we were only there for 4 days. We didn't have enough time to recover from the jet lag.
Yeah, but we still managed to go and have lots of beer, lots of balsam, lots of coffee,
black balsam. We found some great restaurants.
Yeah, amazing place.
Great people.
Yeah, everyone was super nice.
Super sarcastic. Remember that?
Very sarcastic.
That we were not sure how to take it, and I'm still to this day not sure if it's a cultural thing or not.
Yeah.
But they're insanely sarcastic, and that's just, they aren't insulting you. They're actually just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
But it was really off-putting at first.
And then, what was that one restaurant where they kept throwing dry ice on us?
Oh yeah, that's the night we got really inebriated.
Yeah.
They gave us all that. Remember they sent me home with a loaf of bread?
Yeah.
They gave me a free giant loaf of bread, which was incredible. They gave us free dessert. They gave us free shots of black balsam.
Yep.
Oh, that's where it all started.
That was wild, man. And then most recently was the DeMar DeRozan feature, right?
Oh, that's right, with TSN.
Yeah.
I completely
Shout out
forgot
to
about
Matt
that.
Shinetti.
Shanetz, he was on the podcast recently.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to him, check it out. But again, it's neat coming across these people as you work that just, because Matt is an excellent example of someone that wanted to not just be in his lane. Like, yeah, I do this one thing, but I also want to be able to explore these other things.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to a creator, he's great. He has a really unique vision and how he sees things, and a very unique talent of telling parts of a story. I think the DeMar one, when he says a cooler is a fridge and newspapers for blinds or something, I would not have the balls to get DeMar to talk about that. And Matt he has that through line, and he just knows the story he wants to tell and does a great job doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know he has a really unique way of connecting with the athletes too, and getting them on board for these amazing projects. And I'm just grateful that we were able to be a part of it.
Really big lenses.
Very big lenses.
Really, really big lenses.
Goodness.
They were Cook anamorphics for anyone who's nerds like us. My biceps got considerably larger just from one day of shooting.
Yeah, I think I threw out my back.
But whatever, you had an easy rig
for some of it.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but no, that was cool. Just driving with DeMar to the ACC, sitting in the passenger seat.
It was a really nice car.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was.
And, well, he's in his moment of preparation.
Yeah,
before a game.
We didn't say a single word because I didn't want to be that guy to get him out of his rhythm and out of his zone. But yeah, I know we pulled up to the parking spot underground at the ACC, and I said, "Man, thank you for this opportunity." I said, "Man, no worries." And that was it. That was the only interaction. We drove for an hour together.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
So we're gonna switch a gear. I've kept you for way longer than an hour, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Before you go, I did this with Jeff Garriock when he was on, and I want to do it with you as well.
Okay.
Because you have, we vibe on a way different level, and that's the really nerdy techie level.
Right.
So if there's one or two pieces of gear right now, and I think there's enough people out there that will either skip over this part or skip to this part because they really want to know. If you're, I don't even want to say an amateur, if you're just a filmmaker, and you're not on the $150 million budget line, what are a couple pieces of gear that you love right now? A couple really nerdy, geeky things that we can expose people to.
So my go-to personal camera is the Panasonic GH5. And, I wanted to find something that I was able to just bring with me wherever I go because my girlfriend and I love to travel. And I wanted something small enough that I could just bring with me that takes great photos, that takes awesome video. And I was just, whenever I travel for work, I'm so used to bringing Pelican cases and heavy backpacks and just sweating my ass off bringing this gear around that I want to have something that could just fit in a backpack. So funny enough, that might be the only piece of gear that I own. I own a tripod, a monopod, and a Panasonic GH5 with one lens.
What lens?
The 12 to 35, and then I also have the 7 to 14, which I rarely use. But yeah, it's just I think it's like a 24 to 70 equivalent on the Micro Four Thirds. But just like the image that you're able to get from this little camera. The most recent video that I did was a little trip video to Hawaii back in December. If you want to check it out, it's on my Vimeo page.
Ooh, plugging.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Alex Anthony Video. What's your Vimeo page? Vimeo.com/. Is it a user number?
No.
Do they do user numbers? I think they do.
They do, but I think it's just Alex Anthony.
So just search Alex Anthony on Vimeo.
Yeah.
If you can't spell it, just give up now.
No, it's just amazing because this little camera, my girlfriend and I, we went for hikes. We rented a Mustang. We went in this open door helicopter tour, and the fact that I was able just to hold this camera handheld out the door of a helicopter flying over Oahu and just getting rock steady, amazing footage. It was unbelievable. And then also kind of going back to my style of shooting, like I like to be a fly on the wall. I like to kind of enhance real life and just kind of capture those moments without people noticing you that you have this big camera and a lot of gear. So I think having that, especially when we travel, is awesome. We are going to Portugal and Spain in about 3 weeks, so you can expect another video to come out.
Actually, funny enough, you might. When are you going there?
July 10th to 21st. think we're going to be in Spain during the finals of the World Cup.
I think you might be there
Cool.
as this comes out. So I hope you're enjoying Spain, bud.
Yeah, I will.
I'll make sure to send you a text.
Yeah.
Say hi, check in on you. You gonna bring your Panasonic GH5?
It'll be there, yeah. And I've been on the fence of buying a drone for a long time too.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I've
A little Mavic Pro.
little Mavic Pro, yeah. Mavic Air now, the new one. It's even smaller. And
Of course
has
it
a lot of
is.
cool things, but
Freaking guys.
But yeah, just to be able to have an amazing camera and an option to do aerial footage that could fit in your jacket pocket is unbelievable. And it's just crazy to see the advances that the gear's made over the past 5 years even.
So, personally, I disagree with everything Alex said. And I just want to go on the record saying that I am very much the big camera guy. I want the biggest, most elaborate setup. But why I think you saying that was important and what would be encouraging for everyone is the fact that you don't need like the $40,000 camera setup
For sure.
to accomplish something that looks great. And your that video is a great example. Win the Day. You have pieces in that,
Yep.
which is the Ergo stock piece. There's pieces in that were shot with the GH5, and you have some really, really beautiful stuff captured with something that I naturally wouldn't pick up to use.
Right.
But that's what's cool. And I was told this ages ago, and at first I was like, sure, yeah. I was told not to get caught up in the gadgetry, but to make sure you have a clear and concise story. And recently, Toronto had the Toronto International Film Festival happening in town, and that is an excellent example each and every year how you don't need something crazy
Yep.
to showcase a great piece of work, because 9 times out of 10, it's, first of all, how I've been caught 1,000 times with not having the perfect clip and having to use something else,
Right.
but what guides it through is the story.
Yep.
And so it doesn't matter if you have a Meek no, I'm joking, a 60D or a GH5 or 70D or a Canon 5D. I'm going to rhyme off a whole whack of crap. Sony A7S, if you want to support the better brands, or the FS5, which you shot on for quite some time.
Yeah.
FS7, which I shoot on a lot,
Yeah.
where you go up into the various red lines and the airy lines as well.
Yeah.
The equipment doesn't matter. If you have a crappy storyline, no matter what you throw at it, no one's going to watch it. Sit there, know what you want to emote,
Yep.
know what you want to convey, what you want to share with someone,
Yeah.
and then work towards that,
Yeah.
because you can always substitute a bad piece of footage or whatever. You cannot substitute a bad story.
I could not agree more with that. And I think having as a filmmaker, you always want to try and try the new piece of gear and try to like on this shoot, you're using the small camera. Next one, you're going to use FS5, FS7, Red, Alexa, whatever. And sometimes I find myself getting caught up in the gear a lot, which is at the end of the day, it's all about the story. And I think back to when I started with no gear. Yeah. No gear, and then you slowly start to build out your arsenal. But like the stuff you're able to put together with nothing. It's I know. So just
a camera and an idea.
Yeah. So it's very easy to get caught up in the latest and greatest, because there's something new coming out every 7 days.
There is,
and it's exhausting
and expensive.
Very expensive. Yeah, very expensive hobby that we have.
Yeah. Thank goodness we found a way to sometimes make money at it.
No kidding. A little bit.
And if I've learned it, actually, if you've taught me anything, collaborate as much as you can. One of the greatest pleasures so far in my career has been working with you. And if I can then encourage anyone else to do anything, find someone who's really talented and latch on really hard, because they'll take you really, really far. Alex, I'm so glad you're able to come.
Thank you so much.
This is like months and months and months in the works.
I know.
Finally, I was just like, let's do it this day. I think I finally asked. That's what it was. We talked about it. I never really officially asked. Yeah. So I got down on one knee and said, Alex.
Yeah, it was like a promposal over email.
It was completely. It was a podposal, actually. That's what I like to call it. Always one step ahead, Anthony. Good. If you haven't, you probably know this. We like to end every podcast the same way, because it's important to me. If you want to make changes in your life or we all want to make a positive change in the world, but the most encouraging way to do it is to start in the most simplest forms, because I believe you can't do something good for yourself, you can't do something good to others. So I like when we end to tell everyone to please take care of themselves and eat their vegetables, because the most simplest thing that we can do to make a positive influence in our own life is to eat vegetables. Alex, I really appreciate it for myself, from Dylan, who decided not to show up for today's podcast. Fuck you, Dylan. To Luca editing it, from all of us here at The Stringer. Please, please, please be good to yourself.
And remember to eat your vegetables.
Because the football player said so. /filmmaker. They both start with F.
One more thing.
Oh, you want to say one more thing?
One more thing that might go back to the beginning, but...
it's like a postscript.
PS.
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 PPS.
So aside from football and filmmaking, there's one other thing that I want to learn how to do.
Cook?
Play the sax.